Good morning to you wherever you may be. Welcome into the 615 Prep Scoreboard presented by Fifth Year Technology Concepts. Chris Brooks with you on this Saturday morning. A little rainy outside here in South Nashville, but not too terrible. It's all nice little fall weather anyway. Let's bring in the crew. And Joe, Cam, Scott, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning.
We talked this week about some interesting games, and we definitely saw some interesting scores last night. And before we get into the scores, I want to just get something from you all on one game that you thought might stand out to you.
Yeah, I'll go with the Green Hill Lebanon game, TV game last night. I was able to watch that one, a game where Lebanon jumps out 14-0. It looks like the Blue Devils are the better team and are going to coast to victory. And then Green Hill is able to tack on a field goal right before the half, goes into half 14-3. Comes out in the second half. Green Hill goes right down the field, scores a drop punt from Lebanon, sets up another Green Hill score. They go up 17-14, and then maybe the call of the year so far by coach Josh Crouch elects to go for the onside kick with all the momentum, and he gets it. And they go down the field and score and go up 10, and Lucas Lebanon couldn't hardly rebound from that. Green Hill goes on to win 31-21. But man, what a huge win for Green Hill. First meeting with crosstown rival Lebanon in a region game at that. So his team is 5-0, and have to like where they're at as far as playoff seeding and chances to, who knows, maybe I think it's the last week of the season, have a region championship game with Mount Jewett.
Yep. Joe, let's get yours real quick.
I'll go upset of the night, guys. Father Ryan losing it to NBA. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Father Ryan riding high after that huge win over Brentwood Academy last week, and they go to NBA, who has not won a game this year, struggled offensively week in and week out. They found some offense last night. Their defense did enough to slow down JoJo Crump and those guys and come up with a big stop at the end to secure their first win and keep from going winless for the first time since, the 1960s?
1960, yeah.
It's crazy to think. Big win for the Big Red and kind of a crushing loss for the Fighting Irish after the high of last week. So,
yep.
Game that stood out to me, the Hendersonville Siegel game. We knew that game had the potential for a lot of high scoring, and it didn't disappoint. It wasn't as high scoring, but it was definitely competitive. It looked like Siegel, it kept going back and forth. It seemed like it was going to be the last one with the ball. I'm looking forward to actually seeing more of the game a little bit later today because it was as tight as we thought it would be.
Yeah, 14-14 tie at half of that game, and Hendersonville got the ball first in the second half. Actually, it was 21-21, and Hendersonville took like 9 minutes off the clock and scored to go up 28-21. So they pretty much took that whole third quarter and then was able to hang on.
All right, guys. Well, if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and dive into some highlights. We'll start with Thursday night action in Franklin as CPA went to BGA. Joe, it's all yours.
Yeah, CPA dominant from the get-go here. You got Leroy Harris the third here making a great play over the middle, just strolling into the end zone. Rawls Patterson got the night off scoring. Then Mr. LSU himself, Andre Evans, first of 2 touchdowns on the night. I wish I'd been on that side to get a better angle of that touchdown because he mossed that kid. Second touchdown here. Really close. Referee said he got in. BJ didn't think he did, but Andre celebrated and he got in. If you see, John Wayne Oliver is almost all these touchdowns too. I just noticed that. Breakaway run here. It was that kind of night for BGA or CPA, man. They scored all 41 of their points in the first half. Jackson Matthews here with a nice little return, just kind of what he does week in and week out, right? He didn't break one off this week, but you talk about nitty gritty returns. The other Patterson twin here scoring on a big screen here, and that does it. I mean, CPA in dominant fashion.
What's going on, guys? Joe 615 Preps here with CPA's Andre Evans, 4-star LSU cornerback commit. we know you're going to play cornerback at the next level, but man, these last few weeks, you've been doing it on the offensive side of the ball. 2 touchdowns tonight. How fun has it been playing with this offense these last few weeks?
It's been real fun. You know, I ain't getting a lot of action on defense, so, you know, I'm going to contribute on offense. So, yes, sir.
You guys are on this bit of a win streak now following that close loss to Procone. How important, obviously you don't want to lose that game, but how important has been the response since that loss?
It's been real important, you know, just upping the tempo since we lost that game. And it was really a learning experience, that game. So we just took that learning experience and did something good with it. So.
Thursday night games can always be a trap. You can come out against a team maybe you're not supposed to lose against.
Yeah.
Tonight wasn't that way.
No, sir.
How important is this region win, and how important is it going forward?
It's important going into the region. I think we're number 1 in the region, hopefully. So just working on that and doing good. Yes, sir.
Your connection with Streeter's been off the charts. Just talk a little bit about what that's been like catching balls from him so far.
It's been good. I mean, last game, I forgot which game it was, but we went 2 for 2 that game. Then turned around and went 2 for 2 this game. So just keep doing it. Yes, sir.
41-7 CPA over BGA, and the Lions are rolling now after that loss to Procone in week 2.
Yeah, they figured it out. Braden Streeter, didn't mention him too much. He was fantastic in that game. I believe he had 5 touchdown passes. Just consistent. CPA's got their quarterback that can do whatever he wants, and he's got this connection with Andre Evans now that good luck trying to slow that down, because when they get it going, they're going.
Yeah, you mentioned the play that Evans had right there at the goal line where they weren't sure he got in. I was holding the camera and taking a shot of that, and I'm not sure he got in either, just to be completely honest. But it counted all the same, and the win counts for the Lions just as much. And they'll have good pasture at home next week, while BGA will entertain Hunter's Lane in a non-region showdown for them in week 6. One more Thursday night game to mention, and that's not it. Providence Christian gets win number 2 in the season as they knock off Grundy County in overtime, 20-14. And the Lions now 2-3. A good win for them over there at MTSU, where they're playing their home games this year. And then they'll travel to Kings Academy for a region game next week. Grundy County gets their first loss of the season. On to Friday scores. Ezo Harding, a 48-0 winner over Kentucky's Ballard Memorial. And the Eagles now get above 500 at 3-2. They'll travel to Columbia Academy next week. Oakland 42-7 over Blackman, and quietly the Patriots are starting to kind of get back on track, guys. 4-1 now, their first week region win. They're at Rockville next week. Cam, we've talked about the way Oakland kind of does business, and it's starting to look that way again.
Yeah, it's just, you said the word quietly, and Coach Creasy is perfectly fine with that. He has a way to motivate that team without all of the attention being pointed towards them. That's what makes him one of the best coaches in our state, regardless of classification. But this Oakland team is quietly 4-1. The only loss to the Center Grove team out of Indiana that turned around and beat Cincinnati Moeller team that was nationally ranked. So this Oakland team is, there's no panic. There's never been any panic. And here they are 4-1, and just quietly, you see them and you see the score updates, and it's like 21-0, 28-0, and you're like, well, they're not as dominant as they have been. And then here we go, the final score is 42-7, and they just are dominating every week.
Blackman drops to 1-4 with the loss, and they will have Siegel at home next week, while the Patriots are at Rockville in more region play in week number 6. Stewart's Creek sends Cane Ridge to 0-5, 28-13. That final, the Redhawks 4-1. And Cane Ridge, I think this is the first time they've been 0-5 since their first year of existence back in, I think, 2009.
That sounds right. Good rebound win for Stewart's Creek after a disappointing loss to Rockville. Huge region game, huge region opportunity next week for Antioch to hopefully try to maybe host a playoff game.
That Antioch game is going to be for first place. With both those teams playing like they have in region play. Cane Ridge has got to find something fast. They're now 0-2 region play. They travel to Laverne next week to hopefully get out of that hole. Clarksville's not in the hole. They have a 48-7 win at West Creek, and the Wildcats are 5-0 and have done so in dominant fashion, guys.
Yeah, Clarksville is just a machine. What they've been doing, I think they're averaging well over 40 points a game. They're spreading the ball around. There's not one particular running back or anything like that Coach Shelby's leaning on. This team is just good on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and really though, I mean, some people would look at this Clarksville team and their schedule so far to this point and say that it's not been good. But guys, they've done exactly what they're supposed to do against these teams. The
Yep.
games have not been close.
No.
Yeah,
Good teams
their
beat
test
bad
comes
teams.
next week. Yeah, their test comes next week. They've got Dixon County at home, and that's going to be for first place in that region. West Creek with a loss drops to 1-4. They have traveled to Clarksville Northwest next Friday. DCA falls to Columbia Academy 42-30. And a big night for Mitchell Carey, but ultimately it wasn't enough for the Wildcats.
Yeah, dug themselves a big hole and was unable to fully mount the comeback.
Yeah, giving up what? Oh, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say this one kind of shocked me, but then again, it didn't because, I mean, this is a Columbia Academy team that tested Friendship Christian a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they were right there with them. They got a really great running back in Monte Baldwin, who's had a great season so far. I didn't see his stats last night. I'm assuming he went off, though.
300 plus.
Yeah, so Bulldogs team can play. Their coach down there. I know him from when he coached the softball team. They're building something there after a couple of years of struggle.
Yeah, it was really the second quarter that got them. There was, I believe, they gave up 3 touchdowns to Columbia Academy in the second quarter, and then again, the third quarter started off, I believe, with another Columbia Academy score. Wasted a good night out of Cameron Booker, 13 catches and 189 yards for DCA.
Kind of an unusual position for DCA, losing a region game this early in the season, but they've done just that. Now 3-2 overall, 0-1 in region play. They do travel to Mount Juliet Christian next week to try to get back on track. Columbia Academy 2-3 overall, but more importantly, 1-0 in region play.
Well, we know Coach Wade. It tends to happen that way. He'll build these guys up, and they'll be ready.
Mount Juliet keeps rolling, 38-14 over Cookeville. They improved to 5-0 and 3-0 in region play. More importantly, the Golden Bears, and they're looking like a team that wants to play very deep into November and possibly December this year. They're 5-0, 3-0 in region play. They're at Wilson Central next week, while Cookeville now 0-2 in that region and 2-3 overall.
Closing out games. They've been able to close out their last couple.
Good night for Harrison Edwards. Had, I think, 149 yards and 4 scores, I believe.
East Nashville takes care of Liberty Creek 27-13, but this was closer than that final score indicated, guys.
Yeah, 14-13 at some point during that fourth quarter, and a couple breaks went East Nashville's way, and they were able to separate and win this one 27-13. But we can talk about East Nashville has been dominant up to this point. Now here they are taking a step back, but I think this game is actually more of a reflection of this Liberty Creek team and just how far they've grown in their second year under Coach Alexander. And guys, they may be one of the better 1-4 teams in the state.
East Nashville heads into a battle of unbeatens next week. They're going to travel to FRA, where the Panthers are 5-0 as well. Liberty Creek 1-4, but have a chance to make some noise in the second half of the season, especially in region play. They're 1-1 in Region 5-3A.
Yeah, already defeated Stratford, Liberty Creek has, so they're definitely in a good spot to host their first ever playoff game.
Yep. Let's check out some more highlights. This time it's going to be over at Lipscomb Academy as unbeaten Ensworth made the trip over. First quarter, Taft Schaefer finding Edwin Spillman, and he shows that he's more than a linebacker as he fights his way into the end zone to get Lipscomb Academy on the board first. Ensworth would answer later in the quarter. They took advantage of a fumble, and it's Micah Smith here from a yard out to tie it up at 7 apiece. 10-7 Lipscomb late first half, and then the Ensworth able to tie it up here. Graham Smith with this field goal from 25 yards out as time expired in the first half to make it 10-10 at the break. Second half, you're seeing the tail end of it here. Micah Burton with a 39-yard touchdown run to put Lipscomb up 17-10. Maybe the play of the night here. CJ Jim Coley off the edge, blocks the field goal, keeps Ensworth off the board. They win at 24-10.
Taft, big win for you guys over Ensworth, 24-10. It's been an eventful couple weeks for you, getting into the starting role and then coming in and getting your first win as a starter. How you feeling right now?
Sure, feeling pretty good. I'm glad we got the first win. Just my teammates really keep me on track, keep my confidence up, especially back when I wasn't playing, back now that I am playing. So just shout out to coaches and teammates, keeping me intact, and just feels good to get the game back at home, get a good win.
You know, going into the season, I mean, there were two quarterbacks, and then Deuce comes along and takes a starting role. You know, what were your thoughts as he was starting while you were learning from him?
So I was just keep grinding. I knew my time was coming eventually. Didn't know when it was, but I knew it would happen, and just learn from him, take everything as a learning experience, and now here we are, just trying to get wins here.
How much did last week help you guys prepare for tonight? I mean, it was a great game against Baylor, even though it was a loss, but how much did it really help your guys' confidence knowing that you could compete with them?
Yes, sir. Baylor's a great team, and it was a tough loss, but it was good that we got a good win. It definitely got us right. We got our plan, helped us while we were playing down to get back into the game, and our team, we rallied good against them, and we came back here and got a good win.
How important was tonight for you guys offensively, just trying to find ways to score against a tough Ensworth defense?
So, got the run game established. Shout out to the offensive line. The holes were huge. So if we can get that run game going, spread them out in the box, and then get them back in tight to get the run going, to get the pass going, just really helps our entire offense as a whole.
This is such a difficult region, and every game's a battle. I mean, what's it going to take for you guys to keep in that race for maybe a 1 or 2 seed?
Yes, sir. It's a fun division. I mean, every game's going to be tight. All these teams are so good. So many great players on each team. I mean, we just need to keep getting better every week, and we've built off the first week so far, so we just need to keep getting better.
All right. Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This was not the cleanest game either, guys. First half, Lipscomb turned it over 3 times. Ensworth also had a turnover. I mean, both teams fumbled within a span of about 6 or 7 plays. There was a number of penalties. It was a messy game in the first half. Cleaned itself up in the second half, but the Lipscomb starting to find its footing, and a little stability at the quarterback position doesn't hurt.
Chris, looking at the stat line, it looks like Ensworth had quite a few yards on offense, 348 yards against that Lipscomb defense. So what was it that they were doing, you think, that allowed them to move the ball?
They had, one of them was a double pass. That was about 60 yards of it. Unfortunately, they didn't score in that drive because they missed a field goal early on. They left enough points on the board that they could have won this game. You saw the block field goal by CJ Jim Coley. He stripped the ball out on one of those fumbles. He got in the end zone for a touchback and turned away Ensworth there. Had a pass breakup right before the field goal at the end of the half that saved a touchdown, and then the block field goal kept 3 more points off the board. So really, he's the defensive MVP for the night for Lipscomb.
I think CJ is a guy we don't talk enough about because you look at just how loaded this Lipscomb defense is with Edwin and Caleb and Chris Thompson's really picking up speed. CJ's got plenty of Power 5 offers himself, and when you really look at it, teams aren't going to be throwing Caleb Beasley's way a lot. So he's going to get more play. And I was listening to the radio after the game last night, and they were talking about, it sounded like he had like 10 pass deflections, or he had a ton. He's a standout. I mean, he's another one of those junior kids that's next year we're going to be talking a lot about because he's a stud. I mean, and he had a huge game last night, and he had the blocked field goal that kind of sealed it for him.
Yep. Yeah, big win for Lipscomb Academy going into their open date next week too. I mean, it's probably coming at the right time. They can really focus on this region run that they're going to have in the second half because it's going to be brutal. Ensworth now 4-1 with that loss. They've got MUS at home next week to try to get back into the winning ways. Keep on going with the scores. Fairview at 28-21 winner at Cheatham County to get above 500 at 3-2. They're 2-0 in region play, and they've got Creekwood coming in next week. Cheatham County falls to 1-4.
Yeah, but this game was incredibly close, and I just can't help feel like Cheatham County is quietly getting better, and I know that Fairview has been challenged this year. They've got a lot of youth over there, but this was a really, really good game.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Fairview scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win this one, 28-21.
Fayetteville gets into the win column for the first time this year. They beat Cannon County 34-13, and the Lions 1-4 now, but that's a region loss for them. So they fall to 0-2 in region play. Community will visit Cannon County next week, while Fayetteville on the road at Marshall County. Franklin gave a valiant effort at Nolensville, but ultimately falls 34-23 to the Knights. Nolensville keeps in the undefeated column for now. Then next week's going to be a big one, though, as they're heading to Centennial.
A lot of offense in this game for Nolensville, especially 522 yards total offense. But Franklin kept, guys, we keep talking about this Franklin team, that they are as legitimate as any team out there, and as legitimate as an 0-5 team can be. And they kept this one in doubt for quite a while.
You find me a team that has lost 15 straight games that is this good. It's so heartbreaking for these kids because they've been in so many games, so many close games, and just cannot seem to find a way to get a W.
Yeah. They're going to get one this year. That's you can book that one.
Yep.
Yeah. Is it next week? They're at Summit in region play, and it could be a chance for them to break that losing skid. And Emeralds seem to be pretty up to the challenge to at least be contenders in most games, but we'll see if they get in the win column very, very soon.
Oh.
If you're just joining us, this is the 615 Prep Scoreboard presented by Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. FRA a 55-7 winner at Northwest. They just keep on chugging along, guys. I mean, they had it well in hand even before halftime.
Yeah. Once again, that FRA defense steps up. 56 total yards allowed, I believe, for Northwest. Ty Clark, another good night.
Yeah, nobody was really dominant for FRA, though. I think they showed in this game just how complete of a team they are. And I think Ty had 104 yards, but everybody else was kind of back and forth a little bit. No real dominant stat patterns in this game. Guys, we moved them to number 2 last week for a reason. We really like this FRA team.
That unbeaten showdown looms at East Nashville next week. Northwest is 0-5. They are at home against West Creek in week number 6. Pro Prep into the win column for the second time, 41-14 over Good Pasture. Another key region win for the Knights that pretty much secures a playoff spot for them as well.
Elijah Robb, I think, had a pretty big night for the Knights, and saw a video of him trucking a Good Pasture defender into the end zone. They need more of that. Elijah Robb's the established name on this team. Get him the ball.
5 touchdowns for Elijah Robb.
Yeah,
last night.
2 really tough losses for Good Pasture in the last couple of weeks. They're now 2-3 on the season and 0-2 in region play, and they're at CPA next week, and it won't get any easier. DeKalb County, a 21-7 winner over Gordonsville, and those Tigers up to 3-2 now with that win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I thought I was going out there for a second. Yeah, once again, Steve Trapp, he's got his team moving at the right time. We thought Briz Trapp was the quarterback there was going to be, out when he had an injury earlier in the season. Turns out it was not near as serious, and he's got him back on track.
They're at Stone Memorial next week in region play. Gordonsville now 2-3, and they'll travel to Monterey next Friday night. Grace Christian 36-0 shutout winners at Clarksville Academy, and the Lions now 2-2 and 1-0. More importantly, in region play, Clarksville Academy falls to 1-4 at the loss, and they're at Collinwood next week. We talked about this game at the start of the show. Green Hill 11 31-21 that final, but Cam, you mentioned it. Green Hill had basically taken the momentum away from Lebanon.
Yeah, I mean, Lebanon led this game 14-0, and Green Hill was able to get a field goal right before the half to make it 14-3 at half. They come out in the second half, drive right down the field. Aaron Mattingly kind of took over the game there in the third quarter for them. Scored on a touchdown reception, a great diving catch in the side of the end zone, and then The ensuing possession, Lebanon is back, getting ready to punt it back to Green Hill, and the punter drops the ball, and Green Hill is able to tackle him at about the 5-yard line. And then Mattingly scored another touchdown right after that to put the Hawks in front 17-14. And then why not? Riverboat Gambler style, right? Let's go onside kick with all the momentum. And they get the onside kick and go down the field and score to make it 24-14. And the Lebanon team just didn't seem to respond after that. And Green Hill's defense was pretty dominant there in the second half. Lebanon scored late with like 2 minutes to go to make this one 31-21. But a huge win for Green Hill, undefeated. They're looking at another huge game next week in region, especially when it comes to trying to host a playoff game. If they can win next week, that could potentially set up a Green Hill Mount Juliet game for the region championship.
Yep.
As a former special teams guy myself, the way Coach Crouch does these things, it seems week in and week out with his special teams, it just hits my heart in like the best way possible. I mean, it works to perfection. You don't see stuff like that continually in high school football. I mean, these are kids. You're trying to teach them like, hey, onside kicks. There's so much that go into them. Special teams play in general. There's so much that goes into it, and he's coached it into these kids. And I mean, since he's gotten there, it works. It's worked every single year, every few games. So it's really impressive.
Yeah, and Josh Crouch is a name to keep in mind. He's building this Green Hill program. Not that he would ever leave, but he is a guy that is definitely cementing his name as could be a top candidate for some really big jobs here in the near future.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's detail. When you are practicing the little things, because the big things will take care of themselves, right? Those are the little things, and I'm not downgrading special teams, but when you get into those kind of details to where your guys are actually performing at a higher level than week after week after week, that's great coaching.
Yep. Green Hill 5-0 with that win, regardless of what it says on your screen there, and Lebanon now 3-2 after that loss. They've got Watertown at home. Green Hill, a big region game, as Cam said, against Gallatin next week. Station Camp, welcome to the win column. 26-20 winners over Greenbrier. The Bison were close last week against Springfield. They get it done this week against Greenbrier.
In same fashion as last week, guys. Greenbrier led this game 20-3. 20-3. And the freshman in his first varsity start, he threw for 200 yards last week against Springfield in reserve. And the freshman gets it done with another big night. I believe they actually got it done on the ground this game. I believe they had a stretch where they ran the ball 19 straight plays in that second half and was able to win this one 26-20.
Yep.
Station Camp 1-4 with that win. The Pearl Cone comes to town next week, and Greenbrier falls to 1-4 with the loss. They now host White House in week number 6. Eagleville 35-0 winners over Huntland. The Eagles are 3-2 and get their first win to improve to 1-2 in region play. They're in region 5 of Class 1A.
Yeah, big night for Will Becker, 13-21, passing 3 TDs. Just a good all-around effort there for the Eagles.
All right, let's fire up some more highlights from Beach last night. Independence making a visit. Joe, take it away.
Yeah, after both teams punted on their opening drives, Luke McNeely, he orchestrated a perfect drive on the Independence second drive. Huge play here. Beach is a step away from breaking one loose. Instead, it's fumbled away. Independence recovers, and that was just a massive turning point, I think, in the game. A couple plays later, McNeely here. He hits Cole Romine in here for a huge gain. Nearly breaks it in. And Beach is in striking distance on 4th and goal. Beach didn't think Independence got in here. The refs disagree. Puts Indy up by a couple scores, and that's really all they needed. Continue to roll. This Luke McNeely, we'll talk a little bit about him here in a bit, but electric, just electric. Plays like that, he got the crowd going, then he puts the game away here. Just so much fun to watch. Caden Powell prevents a shutout, though. I will say that. He
Huge night
hits big
tonight. 3
runs.
touchdowns. Were you expecting this kind of performance?
We were expecting a four-quarter game. We came out the past 3 games and only played a half. So our whole motive this week was team, every player, every play. And I think that's just what we did.
I know you've had 3 straight overtime games. How nice is it to get this one knocked out early compared to the last couple?
Man, we needed it just for some motivation. Thinking only playing 2 halves and not playing a full game, we're just thinking, oh, maybe we can't do it. But guess what? We did it. And it gave us some motivation this week.
Was there a moment for you tonight where you're like, man, this is going to be our night?
I think from the start, we just had this chip on our shoulder. Everyone's picking against us. We use it as motivation. Every week they picked against us every time. And this time we just followed through with it. We got the dub.
How important is a win like this as you get ready to really ramp up?
He's him!
As you get ready to ramp up region play.
Well, I just think it motivates us as a team and just gives us that extra drive that we've been needing.
Congratulations, man. Good luck going forward. Joe Spears here with Independence coach Scott Stidham following your team's huge road win here at Beach. I mean, this is not an easy place to win. You guys came in, made a statement. First off, how nice is it to win a game in regulation after these last couple weeks?
I didn't know if it was possible for us, but now we're real happy for our kids and our fans that made the trip. And our kids had a great week of practice all week, and we knew what we were playing, man. It's a great program, and we just played well and got the breaks when we needed them.
Got a quarterback who ran their offense to perfection tonight, Luke, scoring 3 touchdowns. Just how big is he going to be for you guys as you move into region play?
He's special. He's first a special young man with high character and toughness. And when you got that and a good athlete that's coachable, you got somebody special. But he played really well tonight. Keeps getting better each week, and we still think we can get a lot better.
You don't win this game without your defense. They gave up kind of a touchdown there at the end when the game was out of reach. But talk to me a little bit about what you saw of them tonight.
Well, it really flew around. I thought our defensive coaches had a great plan, and on both sides of the ball, all 3 phases we did, and our kids really locked in and understood what we were getting into. But defensively, we made tackles. We made open field tackles against some really good football players, really big, strong football players too. So we did a lot of good things. Now we're proud, but we're not satisfied.
Statement win, Coach. Good luck going forward.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep, statement win for Independence, 28-7 was that final. Yeah, they're putting themselves in the conversation in that region. I mean, we're talking about Brentwood and Ravenwood, and Andy's right there too.
As they get more and more comfortable with this offense, they're going to be harder and harder to beat. I mean, they opened up, this is a good Beach defense, and not good. Good's not the word. It is a really good Beach defense, but defending that option is, that was just tough. I mean, that quarterback, he did really, really well last night with his reads.
If you're not familiar with Coach Stidham, if you're not familiar with what he did at South Gibson, this is what he did at South Gibson. This is why the Hornets were so good during his tenure in Medina. They didn't have the biggest kids. They didn't have the fastest kids, but they ran this style of offense, and it gave teams out there like Haywood, who's a traditional West Tennessee power, it gave them fits. They would pull the upset against them, it seemed like, almost every other year. No offense to South Gibson, he's at a program now in Independence where you have so many athletes that can run this sort of offense to perfection. It just needs to be executed. There's not a better coach to do it. Luke McNeely is the guy we're going to be talking about for the rest of the year. He impressed me not only with what he did on the field during the game, but afterwards. He's greeting all of his players as they come off the field, congratulating them on what they did, each individually, shaking up with each of them. He a true leader. I mean, this is a kid that's a senior. He's gonna be big for them going forward. None of us picked Independence last night, and I think going forward, we're really going to be looking at, except for Reggie, we're going to be looking at the Eagles as a team in this region that can compete with the likes of Ravenwood and Brentwood and could make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, this team's going to be better sooner than later. Um, and their defense played extremely well, flying around the ball, as Coach Stidham said. Uh, they made stop after stop after stop and made life miserable. Their defensive line, did a really good job of shutting down the run.
Mm-hmm. Beach would run out of 12 personnel, and outside of one big run from Caden, Independence was all over it. I mean, they would get them. I mean, and Beach had bigger linemen, and Independence still found a way to get a stop. It was just a really impressive performance by Independence last night.
Yeah, and then the key game coming for them next week is Ravenwood will travel to Thompson Station to play the Eagles. That's big for seeding in that region. Beach had better get back on the horse quickly because they got to go to Hendersonville for a big rivalry game there.
Absolutely.
East Robertson, no trouble with Joe Burns, 49-12 for the Indians, who improved to 5-0 with that win. Big one coming against Smith County next week.
Yeah, Isaiah Groves with another big night, 14 carries, 186 yards rushing. He had 3 TDs. So, death taxes and Isaiah Groves scoring, right?
Yeah. No issues for East Cam. No issues for East Robertson this week. I know they've struggled the last couple of weeks. They got out to the hot start and never let up.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Joe. This East Robertson team definitely seems to have corrected some missteps the last couple of weeks and heading into that Smith County game full momentum.
Yeah, Elijah Groves on the defensive side, 8 tackles. He did have receiving TD, and he had like 86 yards on 3 touches. I mean, this East Robertson offense just, it's hard to stop.
Yep. Joe Burns 1-4 at that loss. They're at home next week against Cheatham County. East Robertson, like we said, gets Smith County in for what could be that region championship game next week. Hillsboro's 4-1, 42-14 winners over Kenwood, and the Burros quietly putting together a really solid campaign so far.
Yeah, the Burros are looking really good this year. We knew that they would be improved this year. I think they're, right on schedule, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that region shakes out.
This is a Hillsboro program that's really underachieved these last couple of years, and they're long. This is long overdue. I mean, they've got the kids there that can play well. They got a great coaching staff. It's kind of nice to see this, and like you said, Chris, quietly 4-1. Nobody's talking about it, and I'm sure they're okay with that.
Yep. Another big region game coming next week as James Lawson will head over to Hillsboro. Kenwood heads into its open date with an 0-5 mark after the loss. Dixon County 42-12 over Kirkwood, previously unbeaten Kirkwood, we should say. They handed the Cobras their first ever loss. This might have been one of the more surprising results of the night, guys.
Not that I don't think it was necessarily surprising that Dixon County won this game, but man, were they dominant. They jumped all over Kirkwood from the start. It was up 35-6, I believe, at halftime. It just was surprising to see that Dixon County was able to shut down the Cobras offense the way that they were, especially with Dixon County struggling last week against a Gallatin team that has similar athletes to what Kirkwood has. But huge kudos to Dixon County, and they've put themselves in a great spot to host a playoff game.
Yeah, we may have been a little bit deceived by the undefeated record for Kirkwood when you looked at this. This is still a very young team. It's a program in its first year with a new coaching staff, new kids, and Dixon County. They play tough schedules. And Coach Tomlinson, we knew they were that he was going to turn around. This is I would like to say that we should have seen this coming, but we didn't.
At the top of this region starting to shake itself out a little bit. Dixon County will go to Clarksville next week in a battle for first place. Kirkwood still has to play Clarksville, and it's really those 3 teams at the top of Region 7 in Class 6A so far.
Dixon County swept the leg early, and there was no Mr. Miyagi to help fix Kirkwood. So
he's nothing if not consistent, folks. There it is. Getting 42-12, Dixon County over Kirkwood. Kirkwood will try to rebound next week at home against Rossview. Smyrna shuts out Laverne 16-0 to get its first win of the year. The Bulldogs now 1-4, but more importantly, that's a region win for them, and they'll have a chance for another next week when they travel to McGavock. Laverne, after winning week 1, has lost its last 4 games, but they do get Cane Ridge at home next week. Glencliff 37-28 winners over Maplewood. The Colts now 2-3 with an impressive win there over Maplewood, who's now 0-5. Maplewood gets Haywood next week at home, while Glencliff will be at home against Page.
Yeah, Coach Stevenson has done wonders with that program, getting 2 wins this year and that team just seems to be getting better.
White House was unbeaten. They're unbeaten no more. Marshall County throws them around a bit, 53-14, the final in that one. And the Tigers really asserting themselves as the threat to Pearl Cone in this region. They're 4-1 now, 3-0 in region play. White House drops to 4-1 and 2-1 in league play. Blue Devils are at Greenbrier next week. Marshall County gets Fayetteville at home. NBA into the win column for the first time, 24-20 over Father Ryan. We did talk about this game briefly at the beginning of the show, avoiding its first 0-5 start since 1960. Father Ryan couldn't build on the momentum of last week's win over Brentwood Academy, and they fall to 3-1 as a result.
Yeah, I think Father Ryan had to settle for some field goals when that they didn't have to last week. So that NBA defense is no joke. They're really tough. NBA, Brooklyn Davis had a really good night. They rode him pretty good, 159 yards rushing, 3 TDs for the Big Red. He was their primary offense because he had 25 carries. So.
NBA nearly matched its point total for the rest of the season with that result last night. They've struggled to find the end zone, but they did find it enough to get in the win column for the first time. But they're traveling to McCauley next week, and Father Ryan will try to rebound in a trip to Briarcrest Christian up next for the Irish. BA 29-15 lost to McCauley, but the Eagles did hang tough in this one for a while. McCauley just kind of inserted itself again.
Kind of a sloppy game, both teams with plenty of turnovers. McCauley got out to an early lead. Looked like it might get ugly. BA's defense really stepped up, though, to prevent that, but turnovers ended up killing the Eagles in this one. Again, just the struggles continue. It's just a very uncharacteristic year for the Eagles so far.
Yeah, from the film that I briefly watched, I think McMahon, is that the running back for McCauley, Brentwood had difficulty stopping him last night, and I think he was the difference in the game there.
BA's next up at Baylor on the road in week number 6. McCauley will entertain NBA at home next week. Antioch now 2-3, 28-12 winners over McGavock. Both their wins have come in region play, and we just mentioned that next week it's against Stewart's Creek for first place in that region.
Those Bears, I tell you, we knew they'd be improved, but 2-0, they're moving right along.
So McGavock's now 1-4 and 0-1 in region play. They've got Smyrna at home next week. Monterey handles Westmoreland 35-14 there, and the Wildcats are 3-2 with that win. Westmoreland, tough region loss for them as the playoff seeding is going to slip a bit after that loss.
Yeah, really in that region, there's really probably, I would say, realistically 3 teams fighting for 2 spots, and that being Monterey, Westmoreland, and Trousdale County. And any time that you lose one of those head-to-heads, your chances of getting one of those 2 spots dwindles a little bit. So definitely a tough loss, especially at home for the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know whether this was bus lag or or what it was, but
no bus lag. The game was at Westmoreland.
Well, then it wasn't bus lag. But the I knew Monterey could win this game, but it surprises me that they were able to put 35 up on that Westmoreland defense that has been so tough. this year.
And Westmoreland will travel to Liberty Creek next week, while Monterey will host Gordonsville. Nashville Christian gets its first win of the year, 55-0 over Mount Juliet Christian, but more importantly, they did it without Jared Curtis.
Yeah, Curtis out with mono right now. I'm not sure when he'll be back, but Eagles found a way to win. They needed that big time, and we'll see how they go going forward.
Guys, I said earlier on in the year the name Bryson Holt, and I thought that he was going to be a key player at wideout and running back for him with Jared Curtis, but he is also the backup quarterback, and he had a great night last night in his first start.
Nashville Christian at Grace Christian next week. Mount Juliet Christian falls to 2-3 with that loss. They've lost 3 straight since starting 2-0, and they'll host DCA next week. Rossview now 3-2, a 40-0 shutout win over Northeast, and the Hawks, put it on the Eagles. Northeast now 0-5, and it has no answers at the moment.
Yeah, quarterback Reed Bryant, another good night, 144 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Rossview's coming along.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that game next week with Rossview and Kirkwood could be a win and you're in game.
Appears so. Now Rossview 3-2, 3-0 in region play at Kirkwood next week. Northeast, it doesn't get any easier as Henry County comes calling in week 6. Ravenwood has won 4 straight since that week 1 loss to Alcoa, 49-7 over Overton. The Raptors now 4-1, and more importantly, a region win to kick that part of the schedule off. That Independence game next week is going to be important for a lot of reasons, guys.
Yeah, another coach that was just fine being quietly 4-1.
Yeah, it looked kind of rough early. Ravenwood turned the ball over 4 times in the first 9 minutes or so. But their defense, I believe, kept stemmed the bleeding, kept them from giving up points for the most part, and then they managed to turn over Overton 5 times. Carter Pace, another good night, over 150 yards, 3 scores. That offensive line for Ravenwood, they can open some holes now.
Rolling on with the 615 Prep Scoreboard presented by Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. Pearl Cone 61-0 winners at Montgomery Central. The Firebird train just keeps on rolling, guys.
Choo choo.
Yeah, ain't stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
Station camp next up for the Firebirds. Montgomery Central now 0-5. We'll travel to Whites Creek to try to find a win next Friday. Friendship Christian 56-8 over Republic. Tyson Walcott had an unbelievable night.
Oh my gosh, yeah. 7 carries, 351 yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 tackles. I don't know. He probably sold tickets and grilled hamburgers.
And we'll go ahead and nip this in the bud real quick too. Mr. Walcott has already won a Player of the Week award, so he is not eligible to win again in the regular season. So please don't discriminate against us, Friendship Christian. We realized that your guy would win if he was eligible, 100%. But man, and Joe, I think you said it last night. I mean, at this point, you can go ahead and edge Tyson Walcott on that Division II Single A Mr. Football award.
He's averaging almost 240 yards per game this year. If he continues that and Friendship makes a deep postseason run, that state rushing record's right in reach. I mean, it's right there. I know Malachi Dow last year could have had it if he hadn't gotten hurt. Probably should have been Mr. Football. Anyway, I think Tyson's the front runner right now. I think Jalen Mosley out at Jackson Christian might be that second guy. He's had a great year. But, man, every single week, I mean, we thought Friendship would take a little bit of a step back, and no, they're there. Next week, though, huge game. Tyson Walcott, Eli Wilson, come on now.
Oh, man, that's going to be a great one. The thing about Tyson Walcott is he's not in person overly he's not inspiring physically, but he's a fire plug, man. He is absolutely like it's just like trying to tackle a tiger that is ticked off. he is, it's just amazing that, he plays both ways on a team that everybody knows who's getting the ball. And, it's no secret what their offense is, and they just can't stop him.
Yep.
I mean,
I think what you were looking for, Scott, is Tyson Walcott is a football player. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder. He knows he's undersized. But, one thing that's unmeasurable is your heart. And I don't think that there's a player that plays with more passion and more heart in our area than Tyson Walcott.
I look at him as the energizer bunny. Not only is he doing it on offense, but he goes out there and he leads the defense. Come on.
Yeah, I was actually over Friendship Christian handing over those awards this week, and you look at Tyson Walcott. Yes, he is undersized. That offensive line, however, is not. I mean,
no.
Hard to see him when he's running behind those big guys, and give them their due as well, because they blocked a lot for him and opened some holes for him. And yeah, he's leading the charge there for the Commanders, who are 5-0, and they'll travel to Middle Tennessee Christian next week in what could decide that region for sure. Republic 0-5. They've got Stratford at home next week. Riverdale takes care of Rockville 41-6. The Warriors now 3-2 after that win, and more importantly, a win in region play as well.
Brock Montgomery, huge game for the Warriors last night. 5 receptions for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. His breakout game, I would think, for the Warriors. They were up 41-0 at half. I mean, this was never a game in doubt. Huge result for Warriors, who kind of struggled at times offensively against some pretty stout teams. They pick up a big one here, and I think they keep it going next week.
Riverdale's at Coffee County next week. Rockville at home against Oakland. Shelbyville takes care of Wilson Central 42-8. The Wildcats, after starting 3-0, have now lost 2 straight.
This one kind of shocked me, honestly. When I saw it, I was like, man, is that backwards?
Well, yeah, considering what we saw last week against Green Hill and the effort, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying the effort wasn't there. I haven't seen the game, but Shelbyville just absolutely took it to them. This one shocked me as well, Joe.
Another quiet 4-1 team in Shelbyville too. I didn't realize that was the record.
That's what I was going to say. That only loss was a 55-43 game to Siegel when Thomas Santel put up like 7 touchdowns and like 600 yards or something like that.
Back in week 1, yeah.
Yeah,
Shelbyville quietly 4-1. They're at Franklin County next week. Wilson Central will host Mount Juliet next Friday night. Hendersonville does the job against Siegel 28-21. The Commandos now 4-1 with that win. Siegel in a good fight, but they suffer their first loss of the season.
Yeah, that drive in the third quarter by the Commandos offense, I actually think they converted a couple 4th-and-1s on that drive and was able to score in the third quarter to take the 28-21 lead. And then defensively, they were able to hang on in the fourth quarter. But huge win for the Commandos as they get ready to start region play next week with a huge rival game against Beach.
You got 2 teams on opposite sides of things this week going against each other next week, with Hendersonville picking up arguably their biggest win of the year, and then Beach, their worst showing of the year. So what gives next week?
Siegel travels to Blackman back in region play next week, while that crosstown rivalry up in Hendersonville will go down next Friday night. James Lawson, another loss for the Lightning, 27-14 as they fall at home to Spring Hill. They're now 3-2 after that 3-0 start.
Yeah, just once again, a young team that's going to suffer the ups and downs of a season. As they go along. This one was, we knew that these were 2 fairly evenly matched teams. So, I mean, just a rough couple weeks for James Lawson here.
Lightning are at Hillsboro next week. Centennial 35-0 winners over Springfield. We've talked about the Cougars the last couple of weeks, and the train just keeps on rolling.
Region championship next week, I think. And then against undefeated Nolensville, that's going to shape up to be an exciting one. But Jamal's got these boys playing well.
Yeah, huge game for playoff implications between Springfield and Portland as well.
Davidson Academy 5-0, 50-7 winners over St. George's. The Bears, they're that third team in the discussion in the middle region of Division two AA, and they have a lot to play for over the next few weeks.
Yeah, they're the clear 3 in my opinion, but that gap may be closer than what we thought.
Yeah, we talk about all the great quarterbacks in that region, and we don't talk as much about Knox Roberts. And Knox Roberts, again, another really solid game, 244 yards passing, 3 scores. He runs, he's a good running quarterback as well. He's a good leader for the team. So, Davidson Academy, they're a real threat at this point to that region.
I would say Knox is, no disrespect to the other ones, is he the best quarterback in that region?
Could be.
Could be an argument made for that,
I mean,
for sure.
He's the most consistent. It just seems like every week this year he goes out and lights it up. I mean, this is a guy that's been starting for 3-4 years now. I mean, he's a longtime starter for them, and I honestly thought he had graduated by now. I didn't realize he was still playing until I saw him week one. I was like, oh, he's still there, kicking ball, and he throws a pretty ball, and he always has. So
and incredibly consistent, steady. And I think he's in the past, from what I understand, that, he's learning more about the quarterback position. Of course, Coach Quinn there. But in the past, he used to, from what I understand, interceptions, mistakes, and things like that would really affect him. He's learning how to deal with those now. And so he's much more calm in the pocket, and much more calm as a leader. And I think that it's showing on this Bear team.
Brentwood shuts out Summit 20-0, but this was a struggle for the Bruins this week.
Yeah, their offense has been struggling a bit since that Hendersonville win. Good showing for the Summit defense. Brentwood, I think, pretty good opportunity next week to get the offense clicking again, though.
Yep.
Yeah, but they gave up 187 yards on the ground to Summit, which is their bread and butter.
Yep.
But that I don't know whether that Brentwood line is beat up or but that was a surprising stat line for me, considering what we saw out of Brentwood against Hendersonville and some of the other teams that they've played.
Yep. Brentwood's at over to next week's Summit, now 1-4, and Franklin comes calling next week. Stratford 42-14 winners over Sycamore, and the Spartans were improved to 2-3. And we'll have a chance to get to 500 next week when they travel to Republic, while Sycamore still searching for win number 1. Smith County 27-7 winners over Trousdale County. The Owls 4-1 and bounce back after a loss last week to Macon County. They're traveled to East Robertson next week. Cam, I know as the resident Trousdale County alum here, it's a little disappointing for you to hear that, but Smith County bounced back in a big way, though.
They did, defensively creating 4 turnovers in the first half of this one. Really kind of catapulted their offense in this game as they recovered a fumble at the Trousdale County 10-yard line to set up their first score. The ensuing possession, Trousdale County throws a pick 6, so that's 7 more points for Smith County created by the defense. Trousdale County driving inside the 35, throws another pick, so that takes points away from Trousdale County because of the Smith County defense. I mean, they just come out and they weren't dominant in this game. I think total yardage was exactly the same, 222. But they were sound. They didn't make a lot of mistakes, and they capitalized on mistakes, which is ultimately what you have to do.
I'll have to look at the stats on this one, but if I'm Peyton Hicks with the pick 6 for the Owls. If it seems like every week I'm reading Peyton Hicks pick 6, I need to see where he is on the season because he's contributing on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and from a Trousdale County standpoint, next week is a must-win if you want to keep the playoff streak alive. A team that they should beat, in my opinion, in Jackson County. But the Yellow Jackets, they still are struggling offensively to finish drives. They're putting up decent numbers yardage-wise, but cannot seem to get out of their own way.
Waverly knocks off Harpeth in overtime 22-21, and the Indians have been close the last couple of weeks, but just can't find the win column again. They're 1-4 with a loss.
Yeah, this I thought last week was a head scratcher because Harpeth had the lead on Mount Pleasant until late, and I believe they lost the game 14-10. And then here we are against Waverly, and it goes to overtime, and they lose by 1. This Harpeth team, we talk about teams that are 1-4 that are pretty good football teams. They may be one of them.
Yep. Unfortunately, they're 0-3 in region play and travel to Summertown next week. Waverly 3-1 with that win. They're at East Hickman next week. Middle Tennessee Christian 56-6 winners over Webb School. We mentioned the upcoming matchup of Friendship Christian. The Cougars are in a position to try to get that region next week.
Eli Wilson, 8 carries, 228 yards. And he had a 72-yard kickoff return. But let's talk about the defense for a second. The defense held Webb to 10 yards rushing. 10.
Yep, that's pretty good. That's pretty
But
good.
I will say, shout out Webb for having the best nickname in the state.
Yep, bar none.
Yeah.
But the MTCS takes care of the feat 56-6, and they're 5-0 now as a result.
Rex Ryan's a big fan of that name.
Creekwood is a 14-6 winner over Whites Creek, and the Red Hawks improved to 2-3 with that victory. They're at Fairview next week, while Whites Creek is 1-3 and 0-3 region play with a loss.
They'll try to get well against Montgomery Central next week.
On to the out-of-town scoreboard. Gallatin 56-7 winners at Warren County. Hunters Lane did not fare very well against Henry County 63-12. Macon County shuts out Cumberland County 35-0.
Yeah,
Page shuts out Coffee County 28-0. But I think maybe the surprising score on this list: Clay County 48, Portland 36.
Clay County's kind of Jekyll and Hyde this year. I mean, did they not lose to Red Bull Springs?
No, they lost to Westmoreland.
Westmoreland, okay.
And then they beat Monterey, that went and beat Westmoreland, and now they go to Portland and put up 48 points.
If my boss Dustin is watching this, I don't know what to do with Portland, Dustin. I pick them and they lose. I pick against them and they win. I just don't know what to do at this point.
Well, you said if you pick against them and they win, I mean, I think you'd be okay if you just pick against them if they're winning.
That's fair. That's true.
Maybe your cat should pick.
Yeah, exactly.
Another team on this list, just real quickly, guys. We've talked about this Gallatin team and that offense not starting to. They've been putting up good numbers, but they have not been full throttle yet. They were dominant last night, guys. They jumped all over Warren County in a hurry. What a huge game next week for Gallatin and Green Hill.
Jackson Stroop's having a great year.
Yeah.
You look at his stats; he's putting up numbers.
Yeah, sophomore guys, a guy that we get to see for a couple more years.
And look at this Macon County game. We're used to Macon County putting up pinball type numbers scoring wise. This was kind of a team effort. The importance of this game was their defense. Their defense is actually doing very well. They held Upperman to 14 points. In here, they held Cumberland to 100 yards total offense. Nothing flashy on the offensive side. Spread it around. 17
points allowed the last 3 games for the Tigers. Macon County, has won 2 in a row since that Upperman loss. Rest of the scores for this week: Jackson County beats Red Bowling Springs 21-14. Cascade over Watertown 28-21, and Forest over White House Heritage 47-21.
Yeah, disappointing loss for Watertown there. I thought that they would be able to go on the road and get a win over Cascade, but Purple Tigers just seem to be struggling a little bit defensively, and that's kind of a surprise for the Tigers.
All right, so that is all the damage that we can do here on this edition of the 615 Prep Scoreboard presented by Fifth Year Technology Concepts. Final word before we head out, guys.
Indy. If the Eagles beat Brentwood or Ravenwood, don't be shocked. Stidham's got himself a team. They're much more improved. I mean, they're much improved from last year, and they're running the offense he wants to run now, and that's going to be huge going forward.
Yeah, we're at the halfway point now, week 5, and it seems like the most important thing we've learned is that we don't know what we don't know. We're continuing to see surprising results, which is great for high school football because it means exciting games. It means upsets and things of that nature. But I honestly think that at this point, now that we're getting into the meat of the region schedules, you're going to start to see the cream rise to the top out of some of these teams.
Yeah, I really got to, as you see in my headline again, we are 32 subscribers away from getting to 1,000 on YouTube. We are doing a giveaway. We're giving away 2 lower bowl tickets to a Nashville Predators preseason game. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, it is 100% free to subscribe, guys. It benefits us to keep everything free to you, is how that works. So please go subscribe to our YouTube and maybe get a chance to win pair of tickets to go see the Predators versus the Lightning in a couple weeks. And then the second thing is, you see the hat, see the shirt, and in honor of Ron Slay, go damn Vols.
There you go. Can't say it better myself. Florida Hate Week concludes today, hopefully with another win for the Vols. That's it for us. We're done. We will see you Wednesday at 7 for the Mid-State 48, and have plenty to talk about, not just from this week, but getting ready for next week as well. So enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. A lot of good football on this afternoon. And we will talk to you next week. For Scott, Cam, and Joe, I'm Chris. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.